As we reported extensively yesterday, former President Donald Trump has suffered a major legal blow. A federal appeals court rejected his claim that he's immune from prosecution. He's accused of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election. So for more on this, we're joined by Katrina Kaufman here in Studio 57. She's an attorney. She's a CBS News campaign reporter as well. And you have been on the all things Trump/court beat. So yesterday's ruling, I don't think came as a surprise if you listen to the arguments. But the decision did leave Trump the opportunity to appeal to the Supreme Court. How likely is that to happen?
So Trump has until Monday to ask the Supreme Court for a stay, which basically just means it would keep the D.C. election interference case on pause. And he would need 5 votes from the justices for that. But in order to grant cert for the Supreme Court to take the case, he needs the vote of 4 justices. So there are some options. He has said he's going to appeal, so we think that he will apply Monday. They could either put things on pause and then decide whether or not they're not going to take the case, probably maybe by February 19th. They could actually just decide to grant cert right away, or they could deny it. Or one other option that I've heard, and I don't know if they would do this, is they could just summarily affirm what the D.C. Circuit decided. So they could basically issue a one-line order that says, you know, we agree with this decision. I don't know if that's a route that they would take, but these are basically the options on the table right now. But the most important thing is that this puts Jack Smith's D.C. election interference case back in play. It can't move forward yet. We have to see what happens with the Supreme Court, but suddenly there is movement going on there.
And it was interesting because as part of that sort of decision, they said, if you appeal, you got to go straight to the Supreme Court. You're not going to take some, you know, winding road and go through the lower courts first. You're going to go straight to the Supreme Court.
Exactly. And he could, if he wanted to go en banc, which would be the full D.C. Circuit, he could, but it's not going to put the case on hold. So, you know, we know that he always wants to delay things. So that really, it wouldn't be that helpful for him right now.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about Trump's civil fraud case in New York. I was under the impression that we were going to hear soon, like, you know, how much money he was going to owe, if he was going to owe any money, what the punishment was going to be. But now we're hearing that the judge involved in that case is asking some questions because there's a key witness who may be negotiating a deal over perjury charges.
Yeah, this is an interesting development because we had thought we might get a ruling last week, actually, but suddenly there are things coming to light. There was a new special monitor report of a former federal judge who was overseeing Trump's company, who has now seen financial deficiencies with the statements. And then there is this Allen Weisselberg issue. And the judge actually said he learned about this from the New York Times.
Oh,
that
no wonder he's
Weisselberg
upset.
is potentially negotiating a plea deal with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and it would mean that he would be admitting that he lied on the stand in the civil fraud trial. And so the judge is saying that he might just discount his whole testimony. He says that he could invoke something called falsus in uno, which is a legal principle that means if you lied about one thing, because in the Times article they say he was not honest about the size of Trump's apartment, then, you know, everything is not true. And so he's now asking lawyers from both sides, to the best of their ability, to tell him what they can about what's going on here so that he can make a more informed decision. They're supposed to submit their letters by 5 p.m. today, so I think it's fair to say we are not going to get a ruling in this case yet. And I'd also like to draw a parallel. It was interesting because I was just at the E. Jean Carroll trial, and while that was going on, he was continuing to defame her. This was an ongoing issue during the trial, and now we have the civil fraud trial. And right as the judge is supposed to be making a decision on this, suddenly new things are coming to light. So this seems to be a theme that's going on in these cases.
Very interesting. Katrina, thank you very much.